Hello, and welcome back to the Meeteetse Museums. I'm Alex DeSelms, the Director of Collections, and we are bringing you another heirloom care video. This week is newspapers. We've already talked about some other paper-based materials and how fun paper can be to take care of. Newspapers are even more so. Just because of the composition in the paper, they're even more acidic, and so they're more troublesome. So for storage, you're going to want to isolate them from other materials. They will stain other materials. You can think about it kind of like if you read a newspaper for a really long time and your fingers get a little, that's what it's going to do to other documents. So you want to store them together. Store flat in either shallow boxes or we've talked about flat files before if you want to go that far, or bigger boxes depending on how big the newspaper is. If it's a whole newspaper, you're going to want to use buffered, acid-free, archival safe, whatever tissue paper, just because it absorbs the acidity and it's going to help you keep the newspaper longer. We talked a couple of videos ago, I guess, about the buffered paper adds calcium carbonate to raise the pH levels to the alkaline side of the pH scale, and that helps with the acidity in the newspapers. And so it neutralizes the acid, it extends the life. Another option is polyester sleeves, or sometimes L-shape sleeves, or encapsulation. Again, it's kind of archival safe, acid-free plastic, that it's safe for collections, and it's available in large format, kind of pre-cut, or you can buy like a roll or something and make it whatever sizes you need. Don't seal it totally just because it needs a little room to breathe, but it's mostly another layer of protection so that it's not going to leak onto something else. And so, again, the buffer paper can go in the encapsulation or the polyester sleeve with the newspaper, or kind of if you want to put them between the pages if they're really delicate and need just a little bit more of a stabilizer. There's also interleaving paper. Comic books are sometimes made out of the same material as newspaper, and so for those, if possible, a buffered stiffener board is better just because it's going to give it a little more support than, because they are usually a little bit thicker than a newspaper, a little bit heavier, it just gives another layer of support. Actually, if possible, especially if it's just a clipping, go ahead and just scan the clipping. The information in the clipping is a lot more important than the newspaper or the clipping itself. Sometimes it's hard for us if we have whole newspapers to actually get them scanned, so we might have ours, but otherwise, especially for current or more current news, we have our vertical files upstairs that we are cutting out the newspaper article, dating it, telling the paper, telling the page usually, and then we're copying it onto acid-free archival paper and putting it in the folder, and that way we don't have to worry about keeping the newspaper clipping, because it's just going to be a pain to store, for lack of a better thing. Newspaper is just really, really tricky just because it is so acidic and it's just going to want to do its own thing. It's actually kind of nice that a lot of the bigger institutions are digitizing and often putting online whole scanned newspapers. Most of the time it's definitely going to be the bigger newspapers, but even a lot of the smaller town newspapers have been scanned. So that's actually where we try to do a lot of our research when it comes to kind of historic research. If we're doing some type of mini genealogy on an important person that we're going to talk about in an exhibit or something, we really do prefer to get them online just because it's a lot easier and safer too, because the more you thumb through these, the more they're going to, anytime you handle something, it is going to deteriorate a little bit. So that's kind of what we have for you today. And let us know if you have any questions, and we'll be back with another video on a collections topic next week.